In this video, I'm going to show you how to resize a photograph and downscale for posting on social media, as well as adding a graphic for a watermark. In this process, I'll show you how to save that watermark as a preset so you can apply it to one or more photos again and again every time you export. The photo that I'm using today is one that I took of a sunset from Sugarloaf Mountain in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Off in the distance, you can see Christ the Redeemer with the sun setting behind the statue. This image was taken using a Canon 6D Mark II, using a 17 to 40 millimeter wide-angle lens at a focal length of 27 millimeters. Because I'm going to post this photo on social media, I've cropped it to a 16:9 aspect ratio. This will help it fit the screen better when viewers decide to look at it full screen mode. I've already performed all of my post-processing on the image, and now it is ready for export. With the image selected down here in the film strip, I'm going to go to File, Export, and this pop-up window appears. I'm okay with it exporting to the current folder that I have selected. So to resize it, I just need to scroll down to where it says Image Sizing. Now I'm going to make sure Resize to Fit has been checked. And in the drop-down, I'm going to select Long Edge. This will help me preserve the aspect ratio. I'm also checking Don't Enlarge, because I don't want to make the image bigger, just smaller. The next thing I'll do is change the resolution to 100 dpi. This is actually higher than the internet generally supports, so I should be safe. The next thing I'm going to do is enter in the dimensions for the long edge. That's what I've selected in the drop-down above. Because I'm going to put this image on Facebook and I still want it to appear in high resolution, I'm going to use a number larger than 1920. I find for social media purposes, 2840 displays very nicely on most devices. You can put 1920 in here if you would like a smaller image. You can put a higher number in if you would like a bigger one. That's entirely up to you. Now another thing I'm going to do to ensure that this image stays small is I go down here to where it says metadata. You can see if you click on this drop-down, there are several options. If I have a description and title entered in, then I'm going to want to include that metadata so it gets imported to Facebook. It will save me some time. This image does not have any information. To keep this image small, I'm just going to export with copyright only. The less text that's stored inside the image, the smaller it's going to be. There is absolutely no reason to export all of the camera's metadata with the image. The raw info becomes completely irrelevant, and Facebook actually erases it. The next thing I'm going to do is scroll down to watermarking. I'm going to check the box to enable watermarks, and you can see by default, Simple Copyright Watermark is included with Lightroom. I'm going to click on that drop-down box. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom to edit watermarks. When the pop-up appears, you can see I have a simple text watermark. It has a copyright symbol with my name next to it, and it's located in the bottom left-hand corner of the image, right up against the left-hand side. Now, even if I was going to use this as a watermark, placement would not be correct. But for this demonstration, we're going to import a graphic. I'm going to use the Lovin' It on Phuket logo. So to do that, I need to go to the top right-hand side of this pop-up window where it says Watermark Style, click on the radio button that says Graphic. As soon as I do that, another pop-up appears where I can select a file. As you can see, I have a bunch of my logos here already. You may need to navigate through and find the folder where you have the graphic located. Once you find your graphic, you simply have to select it in the window and then click Choose. Once that pop-up window closes, we can see the graphic displayed in the bottom left-hand corner. It's a little on the small side, and if I want to, I can just click on it and drag it to make it bigger. But because I want to do a little more with it than simply make it bigger or smaller, I'm going to have to go over to the right-hand side and change some of the watermark properties. So the first section here is called Text Options. I don't need that because I'm using a graphic, so I'm going to condense that by clicking on this arrow. Now I'm going to go down to where it says Watermark Effects. This slider allows me to control the opacity. Using a lower number makes the logo or graphic more see-through. So if I set it to 75, it becomes a little more transparent. Next, we have the sizing. So here, we have proportional, and we have fit or fill. If I click on fit, the logo is put in the center of the screen. This is handy if you want to make it extremely transparent and watermark your entire image. But because I'm posting this to social media, it actually interferes with the image too much. Fill does a similar thing, so I'm going to stay with proportional. That will make the watermark a particular size based on the image. Now, I want to move this watermark and get rid of some of this empty space around it. To do that, I'm going to use the insets. You can see there's horizontal and vertical insets. I'm also going to use the anchor. The anchor determines which part of the image the watermark is anchored to. So we can see here I can move it around. What inset that is available is also based on where your watermark is anchored. For example, if I use the middle on one of the sides, I can only affect the horizontal inset. If I'm using the center, I can only affect the vertical inset. We see here as I select the different anchors, horizontal and vertical, change availability. I can also rotate the watermark by clicking this icon here. This is handy if the image that you import is sideways or upside down. So I'm going to go ahead and anchor this back down to the bottom right-hand corner because that's where I would like to have it. Now I'm going to get rid of some of this empty space and make it a little more even. So I'll adjust the horizontal. You'll notice as a negative number appears here, it moves away from the center. Regardless of top, bottom, left or right, wherever you anchor the image, a negative number brings it away from the center, and a positive number will move it towards the center. So I'll put it back to the right. Just going to play with it a little bit here. And negative 10 looks okay. I'm going to leave it on negative 10. And I think the vertical is fine right where it is. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there on 0. And then I'm going to change my opacity back to 100%. I don't want the logo to be see-through because everything behind it is black. So that to me is very good. That's exactly how I want it. So now all I have to do is click Save. When I click Save, I'm going to get a pop-up option to enter a new preset. When I enter a name in this box, Lightroom is going to save it. And anytime I want to use the same watermark in the same location, I can just choose it from the drop-down menu. I'm going to enter a new name for my watermark preset. And then I'm going to click on Create. Once the pop-up closes, if we click on the drop-down for the watermarks, we can see the new preset that I created has been stored inside here. So the next time I go to export photos, if I would like to have the same watermark in the same place, I can simply choose that. Finally, I want to save all of these export settings into a preset. That way, if later I want to do a bulk export or I have more images that I want to post to social media, I can simply just select preset from the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side under this pane, I'm going to click Add. And a new pop-up will appear that says New Preset. Just like the watermark, I simply have to enter a preset name. There is an additional option below that says folder. If we look in the left-hand pane, we can see that I have a couple folders there. One is the standard Lightroom presets. Another one is demo export settings. That folder I created in another demo showing all of the export settings for Lightroom. And below that is the standard user presets. If you do not create a new folder, this preset will be saved to the user presets folder. If you would like to keep everything stored in its own folder, you simply have to click on this drop-down and then go to New Folder. I'm going to go ahead and continue to use the Demo Export Settings folder that I created before. Now all I have to do is click on Create. In the future, this preset will come in handy for exporting to Facebook. So now that all my settings are in place and I've made a new preset and a new watermark, the watermark is being applied to my photos. All I have to do is click Export down here in the bottom right-hand corner. If we look up here, we can see Lightroom is telling us that it's exporting one file. And now that the file is exported, an Explorer window pops open, and there is the file. When I open the file in Windows Photos to view it, it's still very clear because it's a higher resolution than my screen supports. And down here in the bottom right-hand corner is the watermark that I just added in Lightroom. And that's how simple it is to create an export preset and a graphical watermark for exporting a photo using Adobe Lightroom. Thanks for watching Loving It on Phuket. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you'll know when the next video is posted. In the meantime, check out some of these other great videos from Phuket, Thailand, Southeast Asia, and beyond. Happy traveling!